15 Haunted Stories from Reddit Exposed, Sinister Secrets and Unexplained Terrors Revealed. Jessica never imagined her return to Pine Hollow would be filled with such dread. As she parked in the cracked driveway of her childhood home, unease settled in her stomach like a stone. The overgrown grass reached her knees, a wild green sea in a landscape that should have felt familiar. What had once been a bright, welcoming porch was now clouded with shadows, and whispers of unseen forces seemed to hang in the air. The chill in her bones ran deeper than the October wind. She stepped onto the porch, the wood creaking beneath her weight, echoing like a warning. The light in the living room was dim, casting long shadows that danced unsettlingly on the walls. Memories flooded her mind: family dinners, laughter, warmth. Now, it felt as if the house were weeping, mourning the years lost while she pursued dreams in the city. She pushed the door open, but instead of greeting her with comfort, it groaned, sending a shiver down her spine. What happened here? Wandering through her old rooms left a bitter taste in her mouth. Dust covered everything: her favorite toys, photographs, even the framed words of encouragement her parents had hung above her bed. Time stood still in a way that felt cruel. Outside, the eerie silence was interrupted only by distant, unrecognizable sounds that sent her heart racing. The wind whispered her name, but no one answered. Her thoughts drifted to the neighbors. They had been like family, gathering for pie contests and barbecues. Now, their faces were strangers behind locked doors. She caught glimpses of them through drawn curtains, eyes scrutinizing her as if she sprouted two heads. The childhood joy of community faded, replaced by heavy suspicion. Conversations she overheard hinted at darkness lurking in the town: a boy who had vanished without a trace, and a community that had become shrouded in fear. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Dread pooled inside her as rumors swirled about unexplained disappearances linked to Mr. Harris, the councilman. It wasn't just a fading town, it was a place festering with secrets and paranoia, leaving her unable to breathe without feeling the weight of surveillance. Her parents, once vibrant participants in their community, now spoke in hushed tones, their eyes darting for unseen eyes. She urged them to join her in seeking out the truth, but they grabbed her hands, fear palpable, pleading with her to forget what lay buried under the town's facade. But how could she? A familiar face, her childhood friend Jenna, was just one more name joining the list of vanished souls. Determined, she began her clandestine investigation, avoiding the shadows that spoke to her of ancient town myths involving sacrifices to keep the town prosperous. Each piece she uncovered was a new nightmare, wrapped in the eerie fog of Pine Hollow, a place where hope had become a figment of imagination. One night, she felt the insistent buzzing of her phone. The message chilled her blood: "Your family isn't safe anymore." Terror clawed at her throat as realization crashed over her like a wave. Someone, or something, wanted to keep the truth hidden. As she stepped outside, her feet like lead, she saw him, Mr. Harris, across the street, his grin cold and knowing. The ground felt like it was shifting beneath her, a betrayal of safety that had once enveloped her in childhood. Panic raced through her veins. She couldn't just stand there. She had to uncover the secret, even if it meant losing everything she held dear. The night wrapped around Jessica like a suffocating shroud, each heartbeat echoing in her ears as she stared at Mr. Harris. The councilman's smile cut through the darkness, a predator reveling in his prey's fear. She gripped her phone tighter, the screen illuminating her shaking hands. "Why are you back, Jessica?" His voice slithered through the stillness, dripping with menace. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to shake off the feeling of drowning. "I came to see my family. And to understand what happened to Jenna." He stepped into the light, the shadows dancing around him like spirits of the damned. "You should forget about the past. It's safer that way. Every instinct screamed at her to retreat, but every inch of her body ached for answers. No. I need to know, she spat out defiantly to Amar. Harris chuckled, a low, gravelly sound that vibrated through the crisp air. Knowledge has a price, my dear. And those who delve too deep, often find themselves buried. He turned, his figure blotting out the weak glow from the street lamp. I suggest you heed my warning. As he walked away, her blood ran cold. The hairs on her neck prickled, and dread clawed at her stomach, insistent and sharp. A part of her wanted to flee to the safety of her home, lock the door, and bury her head under the covers. But she stood rooted to the spot, her resolve hardening. She couldn't turn back now. Her curiosity mingled with fear, creating a potent cocktail of adrenaline that pushed her forward. Inside the house, shadows continued to creep across the walls, and the air grew heavy. She needed to act quickly. Crouching, she rummaged through the boxes scattered in the living room. Old photos, knickknacks, faded letters telling stories of other times. With one letter, a name jumped out at her: Evelyn Gray. Jessica remembered that name, whispered among friends, their parents fearful of the stories. She unfolded the letter, her eyes skimming over the trembling script. If you read this, it means I'm gone. I was taken to keep Pine Hollow safe. Don't make the same mistake I did. The councilman watches, always. Cold fingers gripped her spine. The ground beneath felt like a yawning abyss. She was in deeper than she ever dared imagine. She could no longer trust anyone, not even her parents. Holding the letter close, she turned to the window. Outside, the street was a ghostly void, but a flicker of movement caught her eye. A shadow darted past her house, unmistakable and familiar. Jessica raced to the front door and flung it open. Outside, the darkness closed in, filled with whispers that made her skin crawl. She stepped into the night, heart pounding, searching for that fleeting figure. Jenna? Is that you? Nothing but silence answered her, but then, something shifted behind her. A voice, soft and terrified, came from the shadows. Jessica, help me. She whipped around but was met only with darkness, even as her heart crackled with hope. Panic surged, clawing at her throat. Where are you? As she stumbled further into the night, she felt eyes upon her, pressing, hungry. The ragged breath of something unseen brushed against her neck. She knew she had to find Jenna, to break whatever curse bound her friend. But what if the price was too high? As a low growl echoed from the depths of the trees, Jessica froze, dread and determination locked in furious battle within her chest. What if finding Jenna only led her deeper into the town's dark secrets? With a final glance at the house her childhood sanctuary transformed into a prison, she sprinted into the night, chasing shadows that danced just out of reach. But what awaited her in the darkness? She felt it, a presence lurking, reminding her that sometimes secrets are best left buried. Then, as the moon emerged from behind a cloud, it illuminated the ground before her and the freshly disturbed earth that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. What lay beneath? What truth had Pine Hollow buried in its past? Jessica hesitated, dread curling in her gut like a snake. And then it hit her: if she didn't find out, her family might not be the only ones in danger. The whispering woods around Jessica loomed like hands reaching for her, demanding she turn back. But fear had morphed into a wild determination. Stepping closer to the disturbed earth, she crouched down, her heart thudding in a frantic rhythm against her ribs. What lay beneath that soil? Was it a trail to Jenna or a trap? With trembling hands, she pushed the dirt aside. The cold earth clung to her nails, and each scoop felt heavier than the last. The chill of the night seeped into her bones. Behind her, a branch snapped, and she flinched, heart racing as she cast a glance over her shoulder. Nothing but shadows stretched across the ground. There was no safety here, danger echoed in the silence. Jessica took a deep breath. She had to keep going. The night seemed to thicken with every moment, wrapping itself around her like a suffocating blanket. As she dug, a metallic glint caught her eye. Grasping the object, she pulled a small locket from the dirt, a locket she recognized. A haunting image of Jenna stared back at her, worn and faded. Jenna. The name escaped her lips in a strangled whisper. Could this have belonged to her? Had she tried to hide herself? A sudden rustling nearby sent icy shivers coursing through her. She spun around, gripping the locket tightly. The shadows began to shift, curling and twisting against the dim moonlight. A low growl rumbled from the trees, a warning that sent her instincts into a frenzy. Show yourself. She called out, her voice strong despite the fear pressing at her throat. I know you're there. The sound intensified, claws scraping against bark. Jessica felt the weight of unseen eyes, watching, waiting. Her pulse quickened, turning her blood to ice. This wasn't just a fleeting moment. Something was out there. Jessica, the soft, haunted voice returned, echoing through the darkness. The familiar tone tugged at her heart, filled with terror. It was Jenna, but where was she? Help me. Panic surged through her, a vicious tide. The locket slipped from her fingers, falling into the dirt, burying itself deep. Where are you? What happened? She tried to reach for her friend, but every instinct screamed to flee. Before she could move, the growl transformed into a guttural snarl, close and menacing. Jessica stumbled back, eyes wide with fear, adrenaline catapulting her into motion as she scanned the treeline for any sign of a threat. And then, impossible yet undeniable, a figure emerged from the shadows. A twisted form, featureless yet disturbingly familiar. You should have stayed away, Jessica, it rasped, a voice that dripped with malice. Now you're part of Pine Hollow's burden. Every ounce of courage fled. Jessica turned to run, feet pounding against the ground, breath tearing from her lungs. But the dark figure slithered into view, a mass of shadows and despair, ever closer, dragging her into that cursed night. As she dashed forward, she tripped over roots, falling into the undergrowth. The air screamed with something raw and furious. She had to get back. Find shelter. But as she pushed herself up, a chilling realization struck her. Whatever ancient curse lay within Pine Hollow had awakened, and it wanted her. She managed to rise, glancing back one last time, only to see the darkness writhing, pulsing with life. The whispered names of the lost echoed in her mind: Evelyn, Jenna. Would she join them? What price would she have to pay to uncover the truth? Looking down, her heart sank further. The ground hummed with a pulsating energy, its secrets clawing through the surface. Only one thing was certain: she had awakened a darkness far beyond her understanding, and just as she turned to flee, she spotted something else, another locket half buried near the edge of the clearing, glimmering dangerously under the moonlight. What lay within, and could it hold the key to her survival or her doom? Jessica hesitated, torn between flight and the undeniable pull of what might be her last chance to save Jenna, and herself. The night closed in around her, the weight of the hidden past heavier than any grave. Would she dare to risk it all, or would the town consume her whole? Jessica's breath came in ragged gasps as she froze, her feet rooted to the earth. The darkness beckoned her, an undeniable call, yet fear clutched her heart like a vice. Should she return to safety or reach for the glimmering locket? She took a trembling step toward it, the desire for answers clawing at her insides. Reaching down, she felt the cold earth against her skin. With shaking fingers, she unearthed the second locket, its surface eerily warm, contrasting the chill of the night. As she opened it, the hinges squeaked, echoing in the stillness. Inside was another picture, this one unfamiliar, an older woman with a determined expression, the kind that spoke of secrets too sinister to keep. Who are you? Jessica whispered, a creeping dread snaking its way up her spine. The shadows around her seemed to listen, growing thicker, their whispers now curling around her like the fog. The wind picked up suddenly, swirling with the scent of damp earth and something coppery, heavy, and sickeningly sweet. Jessica's mind raced, trying to place it. Then it hit her blood. Run! A voice barely more than a breath floated through the trees, and fear electrified her body, she didn't need to be told twice. Jessica clutched the lockets tightly and dashed back into the woods, the branches snagging at her clothes, tearing at her skin. Each step propelled her deeper into a nightmare. The echoes of growls and whispered names chased after her, relentless. "Jenna!" she shouted, hoping against hope, though a part of her wondered if her friend was even alive. The darkness responded with a scoff, an almost playful mockery that turned her blood cold. Moments felt like hours as she raced, limbs heavy, lungs burning. She squinted into the void, desperate for any semblance of light or refuge. A patch of pale moonlight broke through the trees ahead, promising safety. Just as she entered the clearing, the breath caught in her throat. There, standing in the shadows of the trees, was the twisted figure again. Yet this time it wasn't he alone. Shadows writhed and churned, clinging to its form like a swarm of insects. Jessica's heart pounded. She was trapped. "Leave her!" a distant figure cried out, stepping into the light. It was a girl, her clothes tattered, eyes wild with fear. It wasn't Jenna, but there was something familiar about her. Who are you?" Jessica stammered. "I'm Evelyn," she replied breathlessly, glancing back at the lurking figure. "They want to trap you, to add your soul to their collection. You have to go. Is Jenna with you?" Jessica's voice trembled. Evelyn shook her head, desperation etched across her face. "You must leave now. We can't wait." The thing let out an otherworldly shriek that sent shivers down Jessica's spine, resonating with despair. The night pulled tighter around them, the air thicker than before, crackling with a malignant energy. "Run!" Evelyn screamed, as she lunged forward into the dark. Jessica hesitated, torn between following this new girl or staying to confront the monster. The shadows writhed, almost as if anticipating her choice. With fear slashing through her gut, she bolted, chasing after Evelyn, praying the night wouldn't consume them both. As they raced through the underbrush, the landscape morphed around them, becoming disorienting and alien. The whispers now roared, clawing at her ears, shattering her focus. "Jessica!" came Jenna's voice, delicate yet haunted, echoed in her mind. It wrapped around her, tugging at her heartstrings. "Jenna! Where are you?" But the shadows closed in, pulsating in time with her frantic pulse, drowning out everything else. Suddenly, Evelyn stopped dead, pointing at something ahead, her breath hitching. "Look!" A circle of ancient stones stood before them, towering and ominous, etched with symbols glowing faintly. Jessica's heart raced. Something vile was tied to this place. "What is this?" she whispered. Evelyn's eyes bulged with terror. "It's a trap, the gateway." A loud crash echoed behind them as the figure surged forward, claws glistening in the dim light. "Don't let it catch you!" Evelyn shouted, pushing Jessica toward the stones. The only option was to confront the horror or be overwhelmed by it. In the face of the unknown, would she be brave enough to step into the abyss, or would she be the next name whispered in Pine Hollow? As Jessica took a step forward, the ground trembled, and the air thickened with dread. What truth awaited in that circle, and how many souls had already been trapped there? The night whispered, and Jessica was about to answer back. The moment Jessica touched the cold stone, a wave of energy surged through her, igniting her senses with a jolt. She stumbled, eyes wide, trying to understand the force that pulled her towards the circle. The whispers intensified, an eerie symphony of madness, tugging at her sanity as if trying to lure her deeper into the abyss. "Jessica, you have to focus. Don't listen to them." Evelyn's urgent voice cut through the chaos, grounding her in this horrifying moment. But the shadows were alive, pushing against her, wrapping around her ankles like creeping vines. "Then what should I do?" she cried, panic seeping into her words. "Stand in the circle. It's south, the only place that might protect us." This was no time for hesitation. Evelyn grabbed Jessica's wrist and yanked her forward, dragging her into the center of the ancient stones. As they stepped inside the circle, a strange stillness enveloped them. The oppressive weight of the shadows lifted, yet the sinister presence lingered just beyond the stone barrier. Jessica's breath came fast, each inhale feeling ragged and sharp. "What now?" she asked, desperation tinging her voice. Evelyn's eyes flickered with a hint of hope. "We need to summon protection. It's risky, but I can try." She began whispering words that sounded old, twisted like a chant from dark corners of forgotten history. The runes on the stones pulsed faintly in response, their light flickering as if they were alive. Suddenly, a chilling roar shattered the fragile calm. It was the creature, the twisted figure, its eyes glowing like molten gold. It lunged at the circle, clawed hands slamming against the stone with a terrifying force. The ground shook around them, a deep tremor that gnawed at the edges of Jessica's mind. "Don't stop!" Jessica screamed, her body trembling. She could feel the stone vibrating beneath her feet as the shadow thing clawed at the barrier, fury radiating from its every move. Evelyn's voice grew louder, more frantic. "I need you to focus, Jessica. Channel your fear, your will to survive. It'll help strengthen the circle." Jessica squeezed her eyes shut, desperation flooding her thoughts. Jenna. She thought of her friend, enveloped in darkness somewhere in this nightmarish world. She thought of the locket, the woman inside with her determined eyes. What had she done? What had they all done to fear this thing? Her heart raced, fueled not just by fear, but by the instinct to protect. She opened her eyes again, staring straight into the creature's haunting gaze. "Let her go. You won't take any more lives." Jessica cried out, her voice raw with emotion. In that moment, she felt a surge of power ripple through the air. The symbols on the stones flared brightly, almost blinding in their brilliance. The creature reeled back, shrieking like 1,000 wailing banshees. The air crackled with energy, and Jessica felt the ground beneath them respond. She grabbed Evelyn's hand tightly, their united fear becoming a shield against the shadow's rage. "Keep saying it," Evelyn urged, eyes wide. "We are stronger together." Without thinking, Jessica echoed the words she heard Evelyn chant. "We are stronger together." The ground beneath them pulsed in sync with her voice. But the creature didn't relent. It lurched forward, claws swiping at the boundary, and dark tendrils snaked around the stone, seeking a breach. The circle felt precarious, as if it might shatter with the next blow. "Hold on!" Evelyn shouted. "Don't let go." Terror clawed at Jessica's throat. It was no longer just her life at stake, it was everything. As the creature bore down, she felt the ground shift beneath her. What if the circle failed? What if they didn't escape? Shadows flickered in her peripheral vision, gathering strength, threatening to consume everything. But at that moment, a flash of memory struck her, the determined woman in the locket. What had she wanted to escape? What power had she held? The realization hit. This was more than survival. It was a fight. A fight against despair and against the darkness that had taken so much. With newfound resolve, she locked eyes with Evelyn, urging her on. "We will not falter." Just then, a blinding light erupted from the stones, a force that sent shockwaves through the air. Jessica felt a pulse of energy like never before, surging up from the depths of the earth. In that moment before the next impact, she realized they were not alone. Echoes of others resonated within the circle, with whispers of those who had come before them, but as the light surged brighter, the creature's enraged scream filled the air. Darkness slashed through the light, a stark battle of power that shook the very foundation of the woods. What had Jessica awakened? And would she and Evelyn be able to harness it before the shadows took them completely? The dance of light and dark intensified, and in all the chaos, another voice rose, one Jessica recognized. Jessica. It was Jenna, calling out from the void. Could she break the cycle? Could she free her friend before the darkness consumed them both? The air around the circle crackled with tension, each pulse of light revealing grotesque reflections of the creature lurking just outside. Jessica's heart raced, a drum of panic lodging itself in her throat. "Jenna!" She shouted again, her voice nearly lost in the chaos. The shadows writhed hungrily, eager to swallow the bright glimmers of hope the incantation provided. "Focus, Jessica," Evelyn urged, her grip tightening around Jessica's hand. "Channel her voice. We have to bind this darkness." The creature howled again, its shriek melding with the whispers of the past. Each syllable felt like a blade of ice slicing through Jessica's resolve. Jenna's voice echoed again, more desperate this time. "Help me. You have to help me." "Stop." Jessica gasped, her mind racing. "What do you want from us?" In that moment, the energy they had conjured pulsed unsteadily, wavering. The creature snarled, claws tearing at the air. "It wants you," Evelyn whispered, terror evident in her face. "It wants to feed on your fear." With that realization sinking in, Jessica felt her stomach twist. Fear was what she had fought against, what they had all struggled to escape. But this was different. This was not simply a battle to survive, it was a fight for their very souls. "Jenna, we're coming for you," Jessica cried, the words flowing from her as if the very stones around them urged her on. Though her legs trembled, a fire ignited within her. She thought of their nights spent laughing, of secrets shared beneath the stars, her friend's laughter echoing in her mind. Together. Suddenly, the air grew cold, colder than it had any right to be. The shadows behind the stones danced like oily flames, buoyed by echoing screams. Jessica felt them seep into her, cold fingers curling around her heart, but she shook them off. "We are stronger together," she shouted, voice breaking through the din. Evelyn's eyes burned with fierce determination. "More," she urged. "We need to break the cycle. Call out, Jessica." Summoning every ounce of courage, Jessica closed her eyes, taking a deep breath. "Jenna, I can hear you. We want to let them take you. Fight back." The ground shook violently beneath them as if responding to Jessica's fiery will. Splitting cracks rumbled through the earth, gushing forth bright light from deep within. A roar erupted, shrouded in pain and fury, drowning out the whispers that had tormented them. The creature hesitated, its glowing eyes flicking from Jessica to Evelyn then back to the circle. They were forging a union of strength, fire igniting where darkness sought to extinguish. But the shadows were relentless. It lunged, crashing into the barrier with a force so intense the circle shimmered on the verge of collapse. "Do you want revenge?" Jessica challenged, heart pounding. "What did we do to you?" A terrible voice rumbled, a sound that shattered Jessica's concentration. "You awakened me," it bellowed, venomous rage dripping from every word. "You should never have come." Terrified, she grasped Evelyn's hand tighter. "What does it mean?" she gasped, fear spiraling. It was racing toward them, and the force of darkness pushed against the glowing identity of the circle, but there was something still hidden in the shadows. A flicker of memory. Jessica clenched her jaw, determined to remember. "I know who you are," she screamed into the abyss. "You're the one who was trapped." The creature hesitated, its claws hovering near the edge of the stone barrier. The brightness intensified around them, shadows retreating like water pulled by the moon. Evelyn's eyes widened. "Keep talking. Don't let it regain its strength. What do you want from us?" Jessica cried again, unwilling to relent as the truth began unfolding in her mind. "Why take Jenna?" The growing brightness caught a glimpse of the creature's true form beneath the cloak of darkness, a ghost of pain lined with memories stretching back to forgotten times. The voice that emerged was softer, more familiar somehow. "I wanted to be free." An uncertain tension reeled in the air, as if lines of fate were tangled in a chaotic mess of light and shadow. "Then let us help you," Evelyn shouted, embodying a defiance that steadied Jessica's fear, but as they reached out, the creature flinched. The cycle was still spinning, the darkness was merely regrouping. Jessica took a step forward, the weight of her decision around her neck. What if we are the answer? She wondered, almost to herself. The shadows pulsed back to life, swirling fiercely. The creature snarled. Was that pain or rage? At that moment, a new voice rang out clearly, cutting through the tension. Together. It was Jenna, a soft glow emerging from the depths of the dark. Could they unite, or was it all just a ruse to lead her into a deeper despair? As Jessica's heart raced, she had to decide. Would this darkness befriend her, or would it consume everything she loved? The ground quaked, sending tremors up through Jessica's legs, the light flickering erratically as it fought against the suffocating shadows. Together. Jenna's voice soared again, enveloped in ethereal power, igniting a spark of faith within the others. But as hope swirled around them, a more sinister weight pressed down, pushing against their shoulders with a force that felt like 1,000 icy hands. Jenna, we can save you. Jessica murmured, barely able to hear herself over the roar of the unseen creature scratching at the edges of reality. She could see it now, a twisted amalgamation of anguish and hatred, its eyes glinting, hungry for despair. Jenna, Evelyn breathed out, her voice wavering, we're here. A bright surge pulsed from the circle, momentarily illuminating their surroundings. Tension hung thick in the air, almost tangible, as the creature recoiled. Within that fleeting glow, Jessica spotted flashes of Jenna, her friend's anguished face, eyes wide with terror, pleading for help. The brightness that surrounded them began to dwindle, shadows clawing at the edges, reclaiming their hold. No. Stay with us. Jessica screamed, panic creeping into her voice. I can't hold it. Evelyn gasped, her fingers trembling, sweat pouring down her brow. It's too powerful. Fight. Jessica cried, desperate. Fight with me. Together. But Evelyn flinched as the creature lunged again, crashing into the barrier with a sound like shattering glass. The circle flickered, the light dimming dangerously. The air was becoming tainted, filled with a fetid odor that crawled into their lungs. Stay strong. Jessica barked through gritted teeth, unwilling to let the fear win. Channel Jenna's strength, her spirit. Do it. We believe you, Jenna. Evelyn shouted, trying to summon whatever energy she could muster. As if aware of their efforts, the creature screeched, its fury shaking the very ground beneath them. Leave now. It boomed, a deafening resonance that sent chills racing down Jessica's spine. Was it urging them to flee or threatening to unleash its terror? No. Jessica shouted back defiantly, refusing to back down. An idea sparked in her mind, a reckless leap of faith. You were trapped. You're longing for the past, aren't you? The strangled cry of the creature reverberated through the circle, a sound of sorrow intertwined with rage. For a moment, the shadows seemed to shift, hesitating as if torn between worlds, caught somewhere between freedom and despair. Together, please. Jenna's voice rang clear, the familiarity cutting through the chaos like a knife. Help me. Help me find peace. The plea drew forth an unexpected wave of warmth that enveloped Jessica. It sparked something primal within, a recognition buried deep beneath the fear. She had to pull them back. The light began to flicker again, slowly but surely. With a deep inhale, Jessica gathered every ounce of courage she had left. I refuse to lose anyone. We're stronger than your darkness. Ratchets of silence sliced through the oppressive air, the creature scorning her words with a guttural growl. The darkness coiled, vibrating with intensity, ready to strike. Jessica! Evelyn screamed, but fear turned to determination as they locked eyes, both knowing the truth. They were in this together. As they joined hands, an electric charge shot through their clasp, igniting their souls. Let her in. Jessica shouted, Jenna, come to us. The crescendo of power erupted, resonating with Jenna's spirit. Another surge blasted forth, brightening the circle, threatening to push the shadows back. The creature shrieked, a blend of agony and fury tapering into unsettling shrieks that echoed against the stone. And then, in a shuddering moment, the light splintered, a radiance breaking through the heavy darkness like the dawn after midnight. Freedom! The creature howled, the words simultaneous laughter and lamentation. Jessica stumbled, feeling the heat of the surge wash over her. But then it struck, cold and overwhelming, creeping through her veins like a poisonous fog. No! She shouted as the shadows reached for her, tangling around her limbs, pulling her toward the abyss. Just as she felt herself slipping, a glimmer of hope sparked. "Jenna!" she screamed, "don't leave us." But shadows grasping at her heart whispered promises of despair. Jessica couldn't let it win. Not now. Somewhere beyond the veil of darkness, she sensed a heartbeat, hers or Jenna's. Time hummed precariously in the balance, and the boundaries of reality blurred. Would they uncover the truth before it was too late, or was this truly the end for them all? As the darkness writhed, Jessica was left with one lingering question: what if the freedom they sought was a trap, and in seeking it, they had unwittingly set the creature free? The cold suffocation of darkness clawed at Jessica's mind, dragging her deeper toward despair. Frantic, she fought the tightening hold of the shadows, her breath coming in shallow gasps. Jenna! The name was a lifeline, a thread weaving through the gloom. But the answer she craved only echoed back in twisted tones, as if the creature mimicked her desperation. In the chaos, Evelyn's silhouette flickered beside her, vibrant in a way that suggested defiance. "Jessica! Focus!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the dissonance like a blade. "Draw on Jenna's spirit. We can't let it win." With every ounce of strength, Jessica forced her eyes shut against the oppressive terror. Jenna's laughter, bright and carefree, rose up in her memory, a lifeline anchoring her as shadows clung to her like a second skin. "Jenna!" she cried out again, pouring every ounce of her heart into the call, "We're here. We love you. Come back." The darkness screeched in protest. It swirled and tightened around her limbs, and even as she felt it pull, the memories of Jenna glimmered like stars in the night. They sparked something in Jessica, igniting an ember within her chest. In that moment, the shadows wavered. The creature was momentarily distracted, its fury diverted. Jessica opened her eyes, desperately searching for Jenna within the haze. "I won't lose you again." Evelyn seized Jessica's arm, her grip fierce and unyielding. "Together, Jess." Feel the energy surge. The intensity from the circle pulsed, illuminating not just the ground, but their very spirits, filling them with a heat that surprised Jessica. She closed her eyes once more, envisioning Jenna. She could see her now, a flickering image caught between realms, translucent but fighting to break through the dark. Jessica reached forward, extending her hand, straining against the shadows that still clung like hungry leeches. "Fight for her!" Evelyn yelled, her voice now more vibrant. "Remember who she was. Remember the light she brought into your life." With that, Jessica found her voice again. "You're not alone, Jenna. We're right here fighting with you." The creature shrieked, the sound a commingling of defeat and terror. The shadows buckled around them, the ground shook as if the very fabric of reality was beginning to tear. Jessica felt the vibrations deep within her soul pulsing in sync with Jenna's struggle. Suddenly, Jenna's image solidified, glowing brighter through the dark mist, her presence almost tangible now. Together her voice echoed, pulling them closer. "Please don't give up on me. Yes. We can save you." Jessica shouted, tears springing to her eyes, mixing with the dread that clung tightly to her heart, but the creature lunged again, brutally smashing against their barrier, sending shockwaves through the air. Jessica's heart raced, she could feel the despair swelling around her like a tide ready to engulf everything. Yet, she dug deep, letting the warmth from Evelyn and the remnants of Jenna's spirit fill her veins. With a newfound strength, Jessica and Evelyn shouted Jenna's name in unison. As the sound rolled through the darkness, a crack began to split the air, a fissure brightening light that threatened to banish the creature's grasp. "Now!" Evelyn screamed, desperation lacing her words. Gripping hands tighter, they invoked every memory, every flicker of light that had been Jenna. The air shimmered, the once feared creature now a wailing cacophony of rage. But as the light began to swell, illuminating everything like a story coming to life, a blinding flash erupted, turning the darkness into an expanse of vivid colors. Jessica shielded her eyes as they were pulled through the breach, feeling themselves drawn towards something more than just light. And just like that, silence coursed through the air, heavy and thick. The shadows retreated as if fearing the brightness, until there was nothing but calm. Jessica blinked as she looked around. The world felt different. Did we win? She whispered helplessly, heart pounding. A faint echo of Jenna's laugh lingered in the space, yet something felt off Evelyn's face was pale, her eyes darting, searching frantically. Where's Jenna? The reality crashed down. Beneath the fading light, an uneasy presence still lingered, shadows skittering along the edges, whispering doubts, hinting at the creature's return. A tremor of fear ran through Jessica, an inescapable dread was that the battle was far from over. Could they truly ever escape the darkness, or were they ensnared in a haunting cycle of terror? The final pulse of energy from the breach hummed ominously, leaving Jessica with the one chilling thought: what if the creature was merely waiting, biding its time to return? The quiet felt wrong. Jessica looked around, but the world seemed eerily calm, the air was thick with unspoken fear. Her heart thudded against her ribcage, a primal drum echoing the dread pooling in her stomach. Evelyn, we have to find Jenna, she whispered, uncertainty gnawing at her. Evelyn shook her head, dread etched into her features. There is something lurking, Jess. I can feel it. She drew closer, her voice barely a breath. It's not over. A low growl rumbled from the depths of the fading light, vibrating through the ground beneath them. The shadows flickered, creeping closer, as if sensing their fear and feeding off it. Jessica's breath hitched, panic striking like lightning. We have to move. With a determined nod, they took a step forward. Each footfall felt heavy, the ground beneath them trembling in response. The colors around them began to darken again, bleeding from vibrancy to a dull gray. Memories of Jenna tugged at Jessica's mind like vines, happy moments threatening to be swallowed whole by despair. Where should we go? Evelyn asked, her pulse racing. What if it comes back? I don't know, but we can't stay here. We have to keep looking. Jenna's out there. Jessica clenched her fists, wading through the shadows beginning to curl around their ankles. As they pressed deeper into the unknown, swirling tendrils of gloom brushed against their skin, slick and clammy. The whispers grew louder, swirling into a cacophony of taunts. You think you can save her? You're too weak. She's lost to you. The voices slid through the air, each syllable laced with malice. Jessica shook her head violently, trying to drown them out. No. We're not giving up. But the shadows hissed in delight, as if her denial served only to fuel their energy. Dark shapes danced just beyond her line of sight, weaving in and out like phantoms. Suddenly, Evelyn stumbled, her foot catching on something hidden below the surface. Jess! She squeaked, catching herself before falling. What? Jessica rushed to her side, eyes wide. Evelyn pointed down to a patch of ground that pulsated with darkness, as if something were thrashing beneath, clawing to break free. It's not just shadows, it's something else. Jessica stared, breathlessly entranced. We need to leave. Whatever that is. But before they could retreat, an arm shot up from the ground, twisted and gnarled. Evelyn gasped, pulling Jessica back. Run! They bolted, the shadows snarling in outrage. But as they sprinted, the ground beneath erupted, sending a wave of darkness surging forward like a tsunami. Behind them, the creature roared, a sound that echoed as if 1,000 souls cried in unison. Suddenly, a flicker of light blazed ahead. Jess, over there! Evelyn shouted, pointing to a shimmering doorway beyond the encroaching blackness. The soft golden glow promised safety, compelling and hopeful. Without hesitation, they darted towards it, the shadows clawing at their backs. Each step felt like it could be their last. Just as the darkness lunged forward, Jessica and Evelyn hurled themselves into the portal, a rush of warmth flooding over them. Jessica's eyes widened as they tumbled into a new realm. It was night again, but not suffocated by shadows. Instead, an eerie twilight embraced them, bright stars hanging brilliantly in the sky. But as they stood to catch their breath, a bone-chilling realization hit: there was no Jenna. "Where are we?" Jessica panted, her heart racing. "And where's Jenna?" Evelyn's face twisted in confusion as she searched the horizon. They took cautious steps forward, the air frigid and still. Jessica felt the tendrils of fear creeping along her spine. The stars shimmered above, but they whispered the same haunting refrain, a warning echoing through the vast emptiness. Then, from the shadows at the edge of their vision, movement stirred. A dark silhouette loomed, familiar yet twisted. As it stepped into the faint light, Jessica's breath caught, a distant echo of laughter piercing through the veil of dread. "Jenna!" She cried out, hope igniting within her, but the figure paused, its gaze both sorrowful and monstrous, that cavernous darkness looming in a way that chilled Jessica to the bone. "Save me," the figure rasped in a voice both warm and agonizing. Jessica's stomach dropped. What if they had escaped only to find something even worse? As silence wrapped around them once more, the darkness thickened, pulses echoing like a ticking clock. The chilling truth hit her: what if Jenna had changed? What if saving her came at a terrible cost? Just then, the darkness quivered, and shadows rippled into focus, forming a shape: a familiar face twisted in agony. "Why did you leave me?" it wailed, a voice not entirely Jenna's. The air thickened with dread, leaving them both breathless, uncertainty clawing at them again. Would they recognize the one they loved, or had darkness transformed her forever? Jessica stood frozen, staring at the twisted silhouette that had once embodied her beloved friend. Jenna's essence seemed clouded, like a mirage trapped between worlds, filled with sorrow yet tangled with something sinister. The air felt electric, tense with the unspoken truths and chilling possibilities. "No! Jenna!" Jessica shouted, voice rising in desperation. Every ounce of her heart screamed for the light. She remembered the laughter, the joy, the adventures they had shared, but the figure before her hesitated, its once familiar form eclipsed by shadows, features flickering like a broken bulb. "You shouldn't have come back," came the voice, both hauntingly sweet and piercingly hollow. "You won't find what you're searching for not here." Evelyn's hand tightened around Jessica's arm, urgency in her eyes. "We have to reach her. This isn't really her, it's a facade woven by the darkness." With a flicker of determination, Jessica stepped forward, every heartbeat pounding in her ears. "Jenna, we're here to save you. Fight back. Remember who you are." Her voice cracked under the weight of her emotions, but she stood her ground. The shadowy figure hesitated again, a flicker of recognition sweeping across its face. "I can't, I'm trapped, it's too strong." Jenna's voice wavered, fear and vulnerability surfacing. "Together!" Evelyn cried, finding her voice as they both reached out. "We're here, Jenna. You're not alone." The whispers grew louder, swarming around them, testing their resolve. The air vibrated with a sinister energy, a blend of desire and despair. Jessica felt remnants of hope stir within her. She couldn't turn back now. "Not alone." Jessica echoed, sinking into the warmth of their memories, their friendship, the shared dreams, and the laughter. "Think of all we've overcome. Think of the dreams we shared at night." The figure twisted as if wrestling with conflicting forces, shadows swirling fiercely around it. "You shouldn't have returned. You've awakened something, it won't stop, we will make it stop." Jessica shouted, voice rising over the noise. "We love you, Jenna. Your light is more powerful than their darkness." A gasp escaped Jenna. Was it hope or despair? The intensity of Jessica's words reached through the veil, grasping at a spark that remained deep within. "Fight, Jenna. Break free. In that moment, a sudden surge erupted from the depths of Jessica's heart, igniting the air with brightness. Undeterred by the darkness attempting to swallow them whole, she pressed forward, determination now a blazing fire. We won't abandon you, not now, not ever. The darkness recoiled, shrieking in protest as the radiant energy swirled around Jessica and Evelyn, forming a barrier against the lurking evil. The air hummed with raw power, the lingering shades faltering against their combined strength. Join us, Jenna. Evelyn shouted, voice unwavering. Your light can break through. You're more than this shadow. Something shifted within Jenna's form, the shadows quivered, and for a brief moment, Jessica felt an undeniable connection, warmth flooding through her, a heartbeat pulsing alongside her own. Together, Jessica and Evelyn pleaded in unison. Let us save you. I'm trying, Jenna responded, voice shaking with pain and determination. But the shadows, they're too strong, and just like that, sparks flickered, illuminating the night. Jessica clung to the hope blossoming even in this darkness. You are not just a victim, Jenna. You are a warrior. Fight back against the shadows. For a moment, silence wrapped around them, pregnant with tension, before the shadows exploded outward in a retreat. A brilliant light surged from Jenna, flooding the space with warmth and clarity, chasing the darkness away. Friends. Jenna gasped, clarity returning to her voice. Jessica. Evelyn. Yes. Us. Jessica called, arms outstretched, pulling Jenna's spirit closer. We can do this together. The shadows twisted, wailing furiously, eager to reclaim what they had sought to fracture. But Jessica felt the energy pulsing, her heart racing, sinking with Jenna's resurgence of spirit. It ignited a fierce glow around them. Fight! Evelyn urged again, her voice like a beacon against the dying shadows. We are stronger together. With a powerful cry, Jenna stepped toward them, confronting the darkness. I choose light. She declared, and in that instant, the shadows began to splinter, churning and collapsing under the furious force of communal love and bravery. The ground shook, the world screamed as Jessica and Evelyn joined Jenna, hands linked together, channeling their combined strength into one radiant beam of light. As they pressed forward, a blinding flash erupted, the shadows shrieking in defeat. Jessica squeezed Jenna's hand tighter, whispering, "You're free." And just like that, the darkness broke apart, fragments of malevolence scattering to the winds. The haunting whisper faded, replaced by a gentle breeze that wrapped around them like a warm embrace. As silence fell, Jessica blinked, eyes wide. The starry night above them shone brighter than ever, illuminating their surroundings as the shroud of darkness lifted completely. The air was clear, no foreboding presence lingered. Jenna! Jessica exclaimed, her heart racing as she pulled her friend into an embrace. Relief flooded through her, pulling her back from the brink. We made it. Jenna laughed, joyful yet tinged with the lingering weight of what she had endured. I thought I lost you. I thought, her voice tailed off, tears glimmering in her eyes. No more darkness, Evelyn chimed in, her eyes shining. We're safe. Together. The strength in their bond radiated like a lighthouse piercing through a storm. As they stood together under the starry night, a sense of peace enveloped them, intertwining their souls as they let the weight of the past begin to lift. But as they turned to leave, Jessica couldn't shake the feeling of lingering shadows just beyond the horizon. What if it returns? She wondered aloud, the night wrapping its arms around them once more. Evelyn nodded gravely. We'll stay vigilant. Always. In that moment, they knew now more than ever that they were bound by their courage and love, ready to face whatever might come. Together, the three of them stepped forward, the warmth of friendship lighting their path through what was once a haunted nightmare, leaving shadows in the past, ready for a new beginning. And as they ventured onward, whispers of ghosts faded, replaced by the resonance of a friendship forged in battle, a bond unbreakable under the starlit sky. If you've enjoyed this wild ride through Pine Hollow, I need you to take action right now. Subscribe immediately to our channel to make sure you don't miss our next exclusive stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm, because your support matters. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about this shocking conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this thrilling finale with at least 5 friends who need to see how strong friendship can be when faced with darkness. This is the moment to show your support for our channel, so let's keep this incredible journey going together.